Guys, welcome back. I wanted to do a weekly video today on Sunday instead of Monday because I had a little bit of time. So let's get started, right? So we saw the week, right? If we go to the weekly chart, we can see that we've actually, right? We actually had, even though we opened higher this week, you can see that we closed with some kind of shooting star formation that everyone wants to point out about, right? I mean, that is kind of significant. And considering this was the level, right, that I wanted us to stay below, you can see that we try to go retest over this level, which is pretty much the weekly area, right? So the market couldn't hold levels of buyers over that weekly area and therefore rejected, and we closed lower. Something else to notice is that this is actually, you can see this channel is actually the one used to support, right? This is where we gapped up on CPI because it held a support. Again, this basically support and resistance, top and bottom of this channel, and you can see we kind of closed below the channel on Friday. So that's kind of interesting, right? This daily close of the channel, which is broken down, which, things, at least I think that, we're going to have further selling, right? In Monday to, again, the bottom of this channel, which again, where do I get this blue line from? This is the line used to support, right? The flag that we broke out of. So we come down to retest the flag. And I still think that we're in a bigger ABC right now, right? And we do come down for this B wave. Again, I have two scenarios, right? One is the same B wave that I've been showing you guys, and the other one is I mentioned that we actually come down to retest again. I think in both cases, even if we have a small bounce, ultimately we will come retest like 4170, 4150 before this fifth leg higher. The key difference between these two counts is this one, if we have a fifth leg higher, right, that would mark, right, this would mark the completion of the entire B wave before we have a C leg down. Versus in this, you can see that even though I have us selling off, right, into September, I have us going higher for that C leg into midterms, right? And then completing the B wave before we come down. This chart that I've been showing you for like a month or more, right? Ever since this low, I've had the same chart, except I thought we'd reject at 4,200, but we did push higher to 4,300, which makes me think that we could be in a different count, right? But I'm still sticking with the original count that we've had since the lows, would say that we come down for the B wave again. The depth of this B wave can be very questionable, right? There's no right way to predict it, right? Generally, B waves are deep, so at minimum, you can see that it has to come down to the 0.618 fib, which is around 3870, right? Sometimes it can be shallow, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we stop, near 4,000 or even 3,953. So, you kind of play level to level, and you can see this flag, right, which I've extended, you can see the 0.236 fib is actually supported there. So that's why I think this could be a key area, right? If we hit 4140-ish, right, that could lend for a B wave bounce. Again, when we bounce, right, you still have to account for it either being a B wave or this bounce, right? If we somehow, start bouncing again, you have to keep in mind that we could have a fifth leg higher, right? Both bull case and bear case scenario. So this 4140, like 4150 is the level that I'm keenly monitoring, right? Given that we have broken this flag, I am leaning towards a more bear count, even not just a flag, right? Even giving the amount of bearish divergence that's been playing out, right? I'm on the side that we do have a deeper selling leg than 4140, but again, to be seen, right? Be prepared for both sides. So again, same as for SPY, you can see on QQQ, right? This was the channel that we were in. We broke down. So if we open below 321, the next level of support, you can see is around 313. So that's the area. Again, I'm looking for the ABC in a bigger B wave. And again, you can see I have a wave 4 here, right? Find support here before the fifth leg higher. IWM, though we have broken this channel, right, to the downside, it's not like QQQ or SPY, right? It's a little bit more aggressive selling off, right? Given that it was also more aggressively bought up. So yeah, for IWM, the key area I'm looking at is 190 to 188, right? This area is either going to lead to a B wave bounce for a C leg lower, or it's going to have a wave 4 here with a wave 5 to the upside. So that's kind of what I have for the broader indexes. With that being said, let's look at this week's watch list, right? The first one I have is AMD, and I know NVIDIA has earnings on Wednesday, so it kind of gets iffy, right? The reason I have AMD is you can see this was the channel AMD was in, right? We broke the channel. If I go to the weekly chart, you can see that if I remove all the signs, you can see we had kind of a hanging man followed by a bearish reversal, but we had an inside week, right? We did not break the range of this week. So that's the reason I think AMD could have a very large move, right? Either up or down. It doesn't have to be towards the downside. It can also be towards the upside, right? You can see this is the level of demand, right? Every time we've hit like 94-ish, right, it has gotten bought up. So if we do break 94, right, that would give us confirmation to test 91. 91 breaks, we can go down to like 87, 85. So it's kind of what I have for AMD, right? Break of 94, we see 91 and 87 alternatively, right? If this entire thing could just be a giant wave 4, in which case, right, I would look for AMD, right? Let me remove these lines. And this is the downtrend line that you can see. It's very evident on AMD, right? So if AMD breaks 101, it should have an easy route to 110 and 115. So yeah, calls over 101, puts below, I'd say, this area of demand at 94. And we should, again, if we do break 94, you can see this is the weekly consolidation, right? And if we break below this consolidation, likely leads to a large bearish move. So that's the reason I think AMD has solid range for upside and downside this week. The next one I have is BABA. So before I do BABA, I wanted to go over HSI, right? So the thing I'm looking at for China stocks is I do think China stocks are going to get bought, but not before a bear trap first, right? Just like we have experienced, right? Inspire, remember when people were literally calling for like 3,600, not 36, like 3,000 or whatever, right? You saw that they had a bear trap to the downside, right? And ABC before a large move. You can see very similar structure here on HSI, on a broader scale, right? That was on a smaller scale. Here it's been happening on a broader scale. So I do think that we have, again, you can see that it has broken this channel, right? So any selling off, people are likely to lead to the bearish picture, right? And it is very possible that this channel break could lead to a lot of downside, but what I'm watching for is I'm watching to see if this selling, right? If they capitulate the bears, right? And it forms a higher low before it shoots higher. So this is something I'm watching. Again, if it starts to break below 18.5, then obviously I would look for like 17 and 16 on HSI. But if I see some kind of reversal pattern like this, then I think China stocks are definitely going to be, for the last half of the year, China stocks are going to get bought up. So that's kind of what I'm watching for, given in that context, right? I think BABA, as you can see, it's every bounce has been getting broken down, right? So if BABA breaks this consolidation, right, the next area of demand is 82, 81. So it's what I have for BABA. Puts below 88, right, 88.5 for a move down to 82. And the same can be observed for most China stocks. This one is a little more interesting, right? I have already RXDX, and you can see that we have been consolidating very closely in a range for like 2 weeks, right? And that's why if we break this consolidation above 49.550, right, we could have a move up to 55. So this is why I have RXDX on this week's watch list. You can see this triangle formation is very common for a wave 4. Again, we could still go sideways, so that's why it's important that you wait for this consolidation to break upwards before you take a trade on this. So yeah, that's why I have RXDX calls on this week's watch list. The next one I have is Amazon. So Amazon, right, I posted this on Wednesday on Twitter too. If you didn't get a chance, I still think that Amazon, right, the gap to Amazon, right, even if it's a wave 4, like I've indicated on the indexes, I feel like it would, right, it would come down to test 134, 133, right? It won't fill this gap, but it will come down to test this. So you can see, again, this is a level of support. If Amazon breaks 138, I think it comes to test the minimum range of this channel, right, at 133, 134. So that's what I have, right, on this week's watches. I put below 138 for like 133. And again, if it's bullish, it will get bought up here, right? If it's bearish, then any bounce, then it breaks this, then it's likely to fill the gap. So again, this consolidation against weekly resistance with, again, if I show you the MACD that I've been showing you over the days, right? You can see that it's crossed, right? And it's also been having a large bearish formation. So the sell-off at least is going to last for a little bit longer. So that's the reason I have Amazon puts on this week's watch list. The next one I have is Ulta. And again, The reason for that, okay, so bigger picture, let's discuss bigger picture of Ulta. Bigger picture Ulta, you can see this is one channel, right? We broke down again. This is a bigger channel which has been holding a support on Ulta, and we've just kind of been going sideways on Ulta, right? The weekly picture for Ulta, you'll be able to see this is where I got that trend line from, right? And that's the trend line which has been saving Ulta for a few weeks. And I know it has earnings, right? And I am watching, right? I think Ulta ultimately in the next 6 months to 1 year will break down, right? The day it breaks 380, right? That's the day it's gonna have a massive sell-off, right? For the next 3 months, the day it breaks 380, it has been going sideways. So I do have my eyes on Ulta, but I know it has earnings, right? And it does look like a wave four. So if Ulta breaks over 410, I think it can have, right? Earnings are on the 24th. So you have like 3 days, right? For like upside on Ulta. If so, as long as it breaks 410, then I can see Ulta move up to 420, right? That's the reason I have calls on here. It can have some kind of pre-earnings run up, given that everyone thinks Ulta is going to beat, right? But again, if it starts to, again, I want to make sure that I do have a bearish count on Ulta, right? So if it starts to break below, let's say 392, right? I think it keeps selling off. And again, this is the most important area for a break, right? As I've shown you on the weekly chart, this is the level it's been getting bought up. So if it closes below 374, right, that triggers this massive downside break and it's going to have a large sell-off. But yeah, I do have calls on this week's watch list because as you can see, we're just consolidating sideways, and it did on the 30-minute chart, you can see it actually had a strong close, right? So again, this is a channel. It can just as easily, right? Something else I can do is stay sideways in this channel before it breaks, right? But yeah, you could look, right, the minute it breaks 405, right, you can look for a trade to 410, 420. So yeah, so what I have on Ulta, bigger picture, 378 is the level I'm looking for to break a large like sell-off. But yeah, bigger picture is kind of what I'm looking at on Ulta, right? Eventually this consolidation is going to break and it's going to have a large sell-off. All right, with that being said, let's look at the last one, which is Costco, right? On Costco, you can see we have this rising channel, right? And we are kind of sitting on the channel. So if we open below that, the next level of support is 530. So puts below 550, target 530, right? Stop at 555. So that's what I have for that this week's watch list, right? Something I wanted to go over was also the Fang Stocks. And you can see Apple has finally, right? We've discussed how it had so much bearish divergence, right? It took until Friday, right? So much bearish divergence. It took until Friday to actually break this channel. So it will be interesting to see if we follow through. Again, bull or bear, right? If you guys are bullish on Apple, I'd say that we come, like, this is what the bull count would kind of look like. This would be a 1, 2. This would be a 3. We come down to about 163, right? Before you have that fifth leg higher. And if you're bearish on Apple, right, for that wave B, this is what your bear count would look like. So I would be very interested to see if this channel break and divergence actually starts to play out early in the week. And again, given that we have Jackson Hole coming up, that would kind of fit with my thesis of selling off, right? Initially, earlier in the week, before, you have that fake move on Jackson Hole where we go higher and then again come down again. That would kind of match the B wave. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if Apple plays out this divergence. Microsoft again, a rising wedge right into resistance. We broke lower on Friday. Will be interesting to see if the sell-off continues, right? Tesla, I know the split is coming up, right? But just chart wise, ignoring the catalyst, you can see we broke down. So I will be interested to see if this sell off, right, continues for the A wave, right? B wave and C wave down. I will be very interested to see if Tesla followed throughs as well. Amazon, we've already gone over Amazon, right? Given that it's broken this channel, I'm still looking for it to test that, like test the beginning of the gap to see if it's bullish or bearish. Netflix again, I'm still looking for a continuation. You can see that this was the channel we finally broke down last week, right? It bounced off the gap, but you can see we closed below the channel. So if the market is weak, I think Netflix will be one of the biggest sellers, right? This at minimum, this gap at 430, right? But if the market is weak, Netflix has not sold off as much, and it should be one of the weakest stocks if we start selling off. So yeah, I think, oh yeah, Google, last one, right? You can see that Google is pretty simple. This is a channel, right? It's been weaker than rest of the Fang stocks. You can also draw an uptrend here, and you can see that we retested and we failed. So that's kind of what I'm looking for Netflix, right? we retest it. Is it going to fail or is it going to go fill a gap? Is something that we have to keep a lookout for. But yeah, I think Google ultimately, right, eventually comes down to test this gap, like this bottom of the channel. So yeah, all the fangs still look bearish, right? They have not sold off as much as the growth stocks. You can see the 10-year that I've been discussing, right? You can see that we're very, very strong on the 10-year. On the weekly chart, you can see this is the uptrend. On the 10-year, you can see again, people claim there'll be a head and shoulders, but the head and shoulders would have only been thing if we retested and we failed. You can see we got bought back in. So this most likely is going up to the top of the range, right? So still bearish on growth stocks. The dollar, right, had a very strong week, right? And you can see we're testing the top of this channel again. And if we do gap up, then we're likely headed higher on the dollar to retest 112, 113, which again put pressures on equities and the wicks, right? So on wicks, this channel that we have, this purple line is support and this blue line is also support, right? And on the daily, you can see though we're just kind of sideways, right? So this is the level Wix needs to break back over, right? 21.4. If Wix breaks back over 21.4, again, you can draw a downtrend this way, right? And you can see how this has been acting as resistance. That's where we sold off end of day, right? End of day on Friday. So if we gap over 21.4, then the Wix is likely, going to retest 24 and 26, right? So this is kind of the channel. If it fails and we gap down, then Wix likely, again, this is the yearly channel that has been holding as support all the way from 2018. So Wix will sell off to 17, which could indicate a fifth leg higher for equities. A dollar and the 10-year is putting pressure on equities. Wix, if it breaks over 21.5, can put pressure on equities. So yeah, that's kind of my thesis for the market. I think we sell off till Jackson Hole and then have some kind of reversal. I will be watching key levels, right? As always, be open to any other scenario. Don't be one-sided. All right, guys, thank you so much.